Hi, I'm Vanessa from VansVanandTravels, and I'm in my little van today because the wind is so terrible outside. I might lose my camera out there. Um, I was almost done on part one, but I saved the last two things I wanted to talk about for a reason because it's very important to me. The number one was reflectix. Um, if you don't know what reflectix is, and I didn't, and people would talk about reflectix, and I'd think, what are you talking about, and how do you spell it, and how do you pronounce it? It it's this stuff here, and you can get it at Lowe's or any hardware store that I've ever seen. It comes in a 25-foot and a 50-foot roll. It's not that expensive, and if you have a van or a small travel trailer, 25 feet is more than enough to do your entire van. Um, and I think I told you before, but cut it when you're measuring your windows. Cut it like a half inch bigger than what the window is that you're trying to fit, because when the sun hits it, it's going to shrink after a little period. Mine did in like 6 weeks. And so when I went back home to Indiana to go to the doctor, I still had a roll what left out of what I had used, and I had enough to do all of my windows again. So 25 feet really covers a whole lot. Um, and I cover every one of my windows, and when I have my lights on at night, sometimes I go outside and look, and you can't even tell that anyone's in here. But I don't care about anybody knowing I'm in here. I just don't want anybody to be able to look inside, was the point I was getting to. Okay, the second thing I wanted to talk to you about is solar. I know how confusing that is, because that was the only thing I just couldn't get. I'd watch Bob Wells and I'd think, oh yeah, I understand that, and I'd jot down all these little notes. But then when it came time to purchase it or start talking about having it installed, it just did not make sense to me. So to make you feel better about this whole thing, if you're planning on coming out on the road, the best thing you could do is, if you're coming to Arizona, that is, you can get it out here and get it installed cheaper if you get the right person. And I have been out here long enough. I know some people, and I'll be happy to put you in touch with them, because there's some people I wouldn't recommend for anything. And one guy, I'll tell you a little story. Everybody would know him if I'd mention his name, but I'm not going to do that. And I know he way overcharged this lady. In fact, he charged her $2,500 to do her solar job, and he kept her home for like, it was months. I don't know if it was 2 or 3, but I remember meeting her during that time, and she was just so upset about it, and I don't blame her. But she didn't know anything about it, so that was the first person. And he was, he was very popular in the YouTube channels about knowing solar. And then before he finished it, he asked for another large sum of money. And she said, well, what about the $2,500 I gave you? And he said, well, I'm getting ready to head north, and I have to have money to go. That story just made me so upset with this guy, because I really wanted to meet him, and I was actually camped by him for a while. And that's as much as I'll say about that. But he was a big ripoff. And then when I met Joe, he was just so professional, and I heard people talking about him, they'd say, he's the one, he knows all about it. Well, I'm not shy, but I was kind of shy about going up and talking to him about doing my solar. But man, am I happy. I mean, he doesn't charge much at all, and he's very, very professional. And Nick helps him sometimes, and I can put you in contact with either one of them if you want to do solar. In the long run, you can just do it cheaper out here than you can, I know, on the east side of the United States, because I call so many people, and they didn't know what I was talking about. they've heard of solar, but, and finally I went to an RV place there in my hometown, and they sold travel trailers that had an RV, I mean a solar hookup, and they said, well, if you really want us to do it, if you can't find anyone else, we'll see about it. I could tell he didn't want to do it because I didn't know about it, and I'm so happy I didn't, because since I've been here, I know of like 3 people, well, one person, it caught on fire, but it was caught on in time, and 2 others were completely burned down. So you don't want that to happen. And when I say reasonable, I'm telling you it's really reasonable, or I wouldn't suggest it. So, and get a good charge controller. I got one that was probably good, and I think I gave like $69 for it, but it was a defective one. It wasn't that was a bad thing to buy, but that one particular one was defective. So I decided to go with a more expensive one, and I'm real happy with everything I have. And as far as your batteries, it's just I don't have a lithium. I have a 100 amp hour AGM universal battery, but I overpaid on my battery. At the van bill, there was a guy there from Interstate that had 215 amp hours, I believe, more than double of mine, selling them for $100 a piece. But I didn't know he was up there. A friend of mine, Ginger, got hers from him. I would have gotten 2 of them if I'd known it, because I'm getting ready to put a refrigerator in my van. And there was just one other thing I wanted to tell you. I think I told you all I wanted to say about the solar. If you're going to bring a van out here, or go on the road with the van, I say out here because there's so many people out here, it looks like everybody's in Arizona for the winter. If you're going to come out here in a van or car or whatever you're going to stay in, it would be good to have a little tent of some kind, or a big tent, whatever you have room for, to put up, so when you go into town, grocery store, you won't lose your campsite. Because if you leave and someone else comes up and decides they want to stay there, they can if they want to. That's never happened with me, but it's always possible. And it's pretty funny because I wrote that down yesterday, or day before yesterday, on my list of things to say, and I drove down the road and I had been seeing a little blue and yellow dome tent down there, and I thought, that's a cute little tent, that would be good to have, and I bet I could assemble it. And I went down there yesterday and it had a free sign on it and all the contents were free. So I got a TV tray, a nice one, that I had, something that I'd been wanting. The rest of it I left because I didn't need it, and I don't have room for a lot of junk in here. But I know I can put it, since I took it down, I know I can put it back up by myself. So that's going to come in handy. And it's only in a little bag about this wide and like this big around. So it doesn't take up that much space. And it's collapsible, so if I have to lay something heavy on it, it's hardly taking up any space at all. And that's all I have to say today, and I hope I wasn't rambling. I'm trying not to. I looked at some of my earlier videos, and I'm thinking, I can't believe I posted that on YouTube. I'm trying to get better all the time. I appreciate all of my new subscribers. You just don't know how happy that makes me. I love all your comments. I'm not just saying that to get comments. It truly makes me happy to know you care enough to leave a couple words, or leave a smiley face. That's fine with me. I know you're thinking about me, and you're giving me your support, and I appreciate it more than you'll ever know. I love all of you, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you for watching, and subscribe if you haven't subscribed. But thank you so much. Bye-bye. I've done this before in one of my, I think my second video, but I'll show you again why the reflectix is so important, and it's so easy, and it blocks out all the light from the inside of the van. If someone's looking, they cannot see in. This totally, it insulates and it blocks out the light, and it's just so easy. I'm going to try to hold the camera and do this. I don't have anyone helping me. But the Savannah van, like mine, has a little slot there on the side, so it just fits right in there snugly. I guess that's a word, snugly. I'm not for sure, but I just used it. And it's there. It's just there. There's nothing like reflectix when you live in a van.